Hey again, it's Christina from Sunshine in Flora. So today I'm putting together my 2023 seed starting calendar and I wanted to share that with you guys. Now this information is compiled from the way that I started all of my seeds last year. I keep a garden journal where I write everything down that I do in the garden as far as seed starting, planting out, all of my markets, which is really helpful from year to year. So this is based on that. And it is also based on the dates that come on the back of my seed packets. So for example, I order a lot of my seeds from Johnny. On the back of the seed packet, there is a lot of information, including when to plant them outside, how to grow them as far as direct seeding or starting them inside. And then they always say the amount of time to start the seeds before your average last frost date. So they will say like 6 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And so I start my seeds based on that. Now I grow in zone 5A in Northwest Iowa, so my average last frost date is May 1st. And how you can find this out is basically you can just go to Google and you can search for average last frost date by zip code. It will bring up various websites. I happen to go to the Iowa State University page. That is one of our state universities. Iowa State is really big on agriculture, so they have a whole section devoted to the average last frost date and the first frost dates for all kinds of cities around the state of Iowa. So I chose one that's about 20 minutes away from me, and it was May 1st, and so that's what I basically go on. Now that is not exact, it's different every year. Last year we had a really slow start to the spring and most of May was really cold, so I did not plant my stuff out like I normally would have. This year, let's hope everything is a little more timely. So anyway, I'm just going to get started and give you a rundown based on the calendar of how I am starting all of my seeds and varieties. So the first one that I'm starting is Lisianthus. If you've ever grown Lisianthus, you know that it is a very slow growing plant. It's recommended that you start your Lisianthus 12 to 13 weeks before your average last frost date. Now I like to plant mine out a little earlier because it is a cool flower. So I'm planning to start mine this year on January 3rd, which just seems really crazy, but trust me, if you're growing Lisianthus, you want to start them really, really early inside. So January 3rd, which is 2 weeks from now, I'm going to start my Lisianthus. Now the next round of seeds I'm not starting until February 1st, and the first thing I'm going to do on February 1st is start my winter sowing, which I will do a video on this, but one easy way to do winter sowing is with milk jugs, where you put the soil in it, you put the seeds in there, you seal it all up, and then you basically put it outside and let it live in its elements. So on February 1st, I am for sure going to be winter sowing my Rudbeckia, strawflower, and some larkspur. If you have varieties that work really great for you for winter sowing, comment down below. I'm always looking for new varieties, but those were the 3 that worked best for me last year, so I'm for sure doing those. Then on February 1st, I also am going to start some snapdragons. Now this is earlier than I normally start my snapdragons for my garden, but I have a hoop house I'm going to be putting up, and I'm going to hopefully plant my hoop house varieties in a whole month earlier than my outside varieties. So I want to start some snaps extra early for the hoop house. I also am probably going to be pre-soaking some ranunculus corms for the hoop house. So I'm going to be starting those on February 1st as well. The next round of seeds I'll be starting is mid-February on the 15th, and this will be all of the rest of my snapdragons that I'll be planting outside in the garden. It's recommended that you start snapdragons 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost date, so this is when I'll be starting the bulk of my snapdragons. I also will be starting my stock on February 15th. And then around February 20th, with hopes of an April 1st planting outside, I will be pre-soaking my ranunculus corms. That is the schedule I did last year, and it worked great. Now we roll around to March. March is when I start the bulk of all of my seeds. So the 1st of March, these are all of the seeds that you need to start 6 to 8 weeks before your average last frost date. I am going with the 8 weeks. Here's the list that I'm going to be starting around March 1st. Feverfew, Ageratum, any perennial yarrow that I will be starting. Now I have a lot of yarrow already out on my garden, but I want to add to that this year, so I'm going to be starting some more. Asters will be March 1st, which I'm not 100% committed to yet. I've never really done very good with asters, so I don't even know if I'm going to start them this year, but if I do, it'll be March 1st. Any mahogany splendor hibiscus that I plant will be started March 1st. I have some Amazon dianthus, that will be March 1st. Chinese forget-me-not, poor man's orchid, both of those are new to me this year. Those will be March 1st. Those two new varieties, I'll probably just start some small 24 cell trays just to test them out. Craspedia, which is the sunballs or billy buttons, some people call those will be March 1st. And then the Fama white pincushion flower will be March 1st. Those supposedly are a perennial in my area, so hopefully I can get a nice crop started of those this year. All right, so moving on to mid-March, which will be around the 10th to 15th. I'm going to start all of my petunias that I'm starting from seed. I'll start my bupleurum around then. Honeywort and mignonette are new to me this year. I'll be starting those around March 15th. Again, probably some small trays. And then I have some ornamental kale that I want to try this year. And so that will be around March 10th to 15th. Then the end of March, here's a whole nother big grouping that I'll be starting. So probably around March 25th or so. Amaranth, marigolds, gomphrena, all of my celosia, black-eyed Susie vines, which are not for cut flowers, but I have some trellises on a wall in my garden. That is what I fill with the black-eyed Susie vine. Straw flowers. Now I know I started some winter sowing straw flowers. These will be the straw flowers in the regular seed trays. All of my status will be around March 25th. My rudbeckia in seed trays around March 25th. And then usually I start a lot of my veggies, tomatoes and peppers, around March 25th as well. Then I also around March 25th will be starting some zinnias from seed. Now zinnias are something that I break up and do succession plantings of. So I like to do 1 or 2 trays of zinnias. The rest then I will direct sow out in the garden. So that pretty much does it for all of the seeds that I'm starting inside. I do have a full list that I will direct sow out in the garden once the seed is warm enough and workable, which tends to be, well, depending on when the last frost is, it's definitely May. So probably around that 1st, 2nd, maybe even 3rd week of May, I'll do a succession planting of zinnia seeds. Of course, all of my sunflowers will be direct sown. I like to direct sow the Ami, the Dara, cress, cosmos are an easy direct sower for me. And then of course my pumpkins, those usually go in the ground probably around Memorial Day, maybe a little before. I definitely don't want to plant my pumpkins out when the ground is still cold. They need definitely warmer soil to get going. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is my hoop house, which I plan to do a whole separate video on, but I am very excited to have my hoop house this year. I'm hoping to get started growing outside a whole month earlier, if not before, with the hoop house. It completely depends on when we get it up, of course, but I'm going to be direct sowing a bunch of plants in the hoop house as well. Definitely cress will go in the hoop house, probably some Orlea. I may try some sunflowers. I don't know that sunflowers grow really well in hoop houses, but hey, I might as well try it. And then a lot of the other things that will be growing in the hoop house that will be transplanted in will of course be ranunculus, stock, snapdragons, probably some bupleurum, but that will be a whole experiment completely on its own. All right, so that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my seed starting calendar for 2023 and what my grow plan is. Again, I am zone 5A. My average last frost date is around May 1st. So if you're going to be going off of a similar schedule as mine, you'll need to taper it to your zone. You can find your zone online. You know, Google the websites. It's really easy to find. Your local extension offices or universities that have agricultural programs probably have this on their website as well. So stay tuned for a lot more video content through the winter into spring. I'll be taking you along on the hoop house build, all of my seeds starting, and I have quite a few videos coming up right around the new year, including a 2022 garden review, my top 10 cut flowers, and what I learned through my second year cut flower farming. But I am really excited to jump into my third year. I have a lot planned and I can't wait to share it with all of you. So stay tuned. Merry Christmas. We'll see you soon.